I had a look at your website and tried to glean a little bit of information from it. And starting at I sort of mocked up how we might do your business. So it started with me setting up some units of measure. I went in, set up some units of measure. I just went in, seeing as looks like you're using some chemical products and you make small units. I just set up some units of measure, for instance, with milliliters. I set those up, and you can see I did milliliters to fluid ounces. But you and Acumatica can really set up any conversion between any volume or fluid measurement you want. So if I do US gallon here, you can see I set up conversions between fluid ounces, US gallons. Okay, there's some background. Then I went in and I created a few items. I looked at one of your sites in the ingredients and I created a few items. So I went into our stock items tab and I just created a couple of items. I'll show you one of them as an example. I saw this ingredient that you had in your product. Wait for it to find it. This is quite a big database, actually. So there was benzene alcohol. I just looked at the benzene alcohol in here. Bring up the stock item for that.
How many items are in this database that you're searching right now?
I just cleaned it out and condensed it to send it to one of our other developers, and it was 13 gig.
13 gigs. Oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah, it's huge.
There's a lot of transactions in here. So you can see at this point, I basically created, I gave it a item class. And when you give it an item class, I really only had to fill in a couple of things. I had to put the description for the item in, fill in the item class, and then that just totally loaded a whole bunch of data that we had set up. You can think of item class as a template. So it loaded a lot of this information. Then I just select my base units. You generally select the smallest unit. It works best if you do that. You don't have to, but it works best. And then if I sell it, which for this product isn't particularly likely, but I would, as an example, will sell it in milliliters, but I happen to purchase it in US gallons. And so here's my conversions between all of the different units that I could potentially do. So you're seeing liters, and there's all my multiplications. I don't have to enter these here. These were brought in from that other table. There's one master table where I put those units in, and it brings those in. It also tells me what my valuation method is. Okay, first in, first out. So, if I have different batches that have different costs, they're going to be cost. It has my lot serial class. This particular item has no lot or serial class because alcohol generally doesn't. But if we have another product like your caramel color, it can have a lot and serial number. And you've got an awful lot of flexibility here in this item. And for this one, I just basically picked a lot serial class that is basically, it's going to be when received is when we're going to assign the serial number. It's going to come out. It's going to automatically generate the serial number for us when it comes in based on the next batch. And so it would come in, we'd receive it, we'd get a batch number, we'd tag it, and it'll go into our inventory as a batch. So we have all of these items. I set a couple up. I set one up for cocoa flavoring, Irish cream flavor, concentrate. Here's one of your end products. It's basically a hot cocoa concentrated flavor 13 ml bottle. I saw that on your website. So that's going to be made up of all those constituent components that I tried to derive from looking at your website, and labeling and packaging and operations that have to be done. Looking at this, and you're going to see that we're actually going to serialize this, because anytime we give anything to people that they ingest, there generally has to be lot and serialization on it, and tracking available to find absolutely every ingredient and absolutely every lot that was consumed to make that finished lot that I made. So given that, one of the things I do is I flag this as is a kit. That means that I can now put a specification of a bunch of components and materials. We call it the bill of material that we'll do. So I'll go in and I'll look at our bill of material, and that is called kit specifications. We build our thing on 310210. Here was the one I put in before. And you can see that here we're putting the polypropylene glycol. These are all our ingredients here. Here's our labeling. Here's our bottling. I look over here on my non-stock components. These are so I can carry all my costs all the way through. And I basically just said that we were going to have per bottle to fill per bottle. We were going to do it in 0.02 minutes. So I hope you got a real fast bottling machine, and that we have a zero amount of labor for bottling the machine, because there may be, if we're running, say, Irish cream first, and then we're running this hot cocoa, there may be very little. All I may have to do is clean the machine and put new labels in, and we're off to the races. Whereas in another example, if I'm converting it from 4-ounce bottles to 13 ml bottles, I may have to tear down some fixtures and put on here and do stuff on your bottling machine, so my labor may be more. So we're going to use our dynamic bill of materials to be able to adjust for that in our costs. So there's two methods I thought that you might actually get orders into your system. You might get orders into your system by looking at your history and having a plan and stocking items. Or you might be, especially I see many small items, so you're probably going to build big lots and sell those. So that's probably applicable to you. I'll show you that. And then there might also be the occasion where you have, if Amazon wants to stock your product, they may just phone up and say, okay, I want 5,000 units. I'm going to show that first. So we'll go in and let's say that your necessity to build something is driven from a sales order. We'll go into a sales order. We'll create a new sales order.
So
we'll go into the sales order.
From Magenta or a human being, either one.
I'll pick a customer. And then what I'll do is I'll actually add my line item. So I'll just go, I forget what the part number was. I'll just go 13 mil. And of course it brings up everything that has 13 mil in it. And so what I want to do is I want to do the hot cocoa concentrated flavor. Okay. And I'm going to take a nice order for 5,000. So I'll do that. Now what I notice here is I don't have any on hand here. So if I had inventory on hand, I could just say, okay, I'll ship it right now, but I don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, I want to build a work order for this. So I just click the dedicated work order thing. This is useful also if I'm doing a custom work order. Say, for instance, I'm going to do some custom labeling by third-party label for somebody. What I may do is I may say, okay, let's build it. Let's create a work order. And then I'm just going to go in and change the labels. And so then we'll have a work order that's going to go to the production facility, and it'll have all the information, and it'll have the new labels and everything on it. So it gives me a great amount of flexibility in order to be able to adapt to an order or something custom. So I'm going to save that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually, I just clicked the wrong button. I got so excited. I'm actually going to generate work orders. So this will go out and it will generate a work order, and we'll be able to go and have a look at what our work order looks like. So if we go to the work order now, here's the work order that we have right here. And we can see that it's brought in all the materials that we had here right now. And it's extrapolated those all out. And it's also gone out and it's done some interesting things for us. It's gone out and it's shown us what the lead time with all of our vendors were. So if we were out of this, if we were out of all of our components, the longest lead time item is 21 days. It would take us 21 days in order, generally, in order to do that. I'm going to see what we do have in inventory, so I'm going to check inventory here. So I'm going to go through, and it's going to show you that, okay, the way I'm going to fulfill this is I have this product, and I have some of these products in inventory, and I have also some in inventory, but I'm going to have to buy some. So I can actually go through and actually, there's a step we go through, complete planning. We have 3 steps for orders. There's sort of an order that's in the system and planned, and then we move to the next thing when it's what we call planned or open, which means that we're probably buying for it. We're probably planning it in the system. We're probably scheduling it for delivery at some point in time. And then there's released. It's actually when we're cutting paper, pulling items out of the stock department, to send it to the bottling department or the packaging department and onwards and finishing our product. So our next step would be to complete planning, then we'll release it, and then we can do standard things for time limitations. I won't go into this too much, but I'll show you one I did a little earlier. Here's one I did a little earlier, the same way as a demo, and you'll notice that it brought all our vendors in. Well, one of the actions I did was I was short of product for this particular thing, and so I said to it, I said purchase work order requirements, and it went through and it created purchase orders for all of these items here. And so it brought in my default vendor. When on my item master, I could define a vendor as the default vendor. It doesn't have to be the only vendor I buy from, but it's the one I generally buy from. And the concept here is that there's a dashboard that your purchasing agent, all of this sort of stuff where POs are generated for work orders, that sort of shows up on the dashboard, and the purchasing agent puts it together. And we have some tools where he can aggregate all those orders up. So instead of cutting 20 different POs for benzene alcohol, he's basically going to aggregate all those orders, and he's going to cut one PO for benzene alcohol. I probably don't have time to show you that today, because I want to show you one more thing before we go. So the PO, I just went through this PO. I went through, it falls into the PO system, regular PO. I went through, I received this PO, and this product is now in stock. Now, what I can do is, one last thing is, of course, it's coming down, it's telling me that this item is lot or serialized control, and I'm getting a message over here that tells me I've released this item. Did I buy this item? No. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm now going to release this item, and I'm going to go and I'm going to show you where and how we pick lot and serial numbers. So now what we've done is we've actually released the work order, and then we print a work order. So this would be a work order that would go out to the production facility.
So this is an example where a large customer gave you an order, and you're hard allocating the build of that item to that one order.
Got it.
That's an option, right? So
right. And here we're going to capture our lot numbers and our actuals. We have a couple of ways that you can actually have a differential in quantity. You can have a differential in quantity in what we call an overage, which just may mean there just may be a little spillage in the system, and it's a general thing, an overage. Or there could be scrap, which is actually product that was bad, that didn't meet a spec, that has to go back into the system for further processing, or it goes to a special area, didn't meet QC, a vendor wasn't up to snuff or something like that. So we've got those two methods in there, and they're treated in different cost buckets, and they have reason codes and stuff like that. But anyway, we're going back here. We're going to our work order again. I closed the screen. Sorry about that. I'll just go back here to this one. There's our kit. I want to go to our kit, and then I can go here right away, and then it tells me right away when an item is lot controlled. So we then pick on the item, and we look at our line details, and we'll see that we have 100 already. We're going to assign 100 from this particular lot. Because we picked FIFO, it's going to pick the lot that we have in there. So this is the lot that it's going to pick. When we've got an end item, what we do is we basically will assign a lot serial number for the item right here. So we'll go in, we'll put our serial number in.
So I've got a lot on the components and a lot on the end item.
Yeah.